Good day, everybody, and once again we are back together. All right, so we are looking at question 4 from our technical maths grade 10 exemplar from 2016. So please, if you haven't subscribed, just make sure you're part of the family. All right, and let's get into the question. So we've already touched on question 1, 2, and 3. Please go ahead and watch those questions if you have not. All right, so let's dive into question 4. They said, given f of x, which is a half tan of x, and g of x, which is cos x plus 1. Right, now they say to us, use the set of x's provided on the attached diagram and draw the graph of f and g in the interval 0 to 360. Right, so we've got two graphs here. Half tan x, we've got cos x plus 1. So they've provided us with a set of x's over there. Okay, we just need to remember. Okay, so what I'll do is, right, so we've got our two graphs. In fact, let's start with putting them on our table. So remember, in this case, when I look at any graph, okay, I'm going to just remember in this case, so I'm that the period, or in this case, the interval, right, that's between 0 and 360, right? But it will actually increase with 90 degrees. But what I'll do, because we've got a 10 graph, I'll also consider 45 degrees as my steps, right? So what you do is go to your calculator and say, right, so we're going to have mode. We say table. So our f of x is 1 over 2 tan x. That's tan of alpha x, right? That's the first one that we have. And we go for g of x. Okay, I'm removing what was there already. So this is going to be cos of alpha x, that's plus 1. All right, so that's my f of x and g of x. So where do I want it to start? I want it to start at 0, and I want it to end at 360. Okay, and in this case, the steps that I'm going to consider are, okay, so when I look at that graph over there, right, yeah, it looks like let's actually take 45. Okay, right, let's take 45. So what is this showing me? It's showing me, well, both f of x and g of x. So it's telling me that at 0, the first graph is going to be, let's start with f of x. So f of x is going to be 0 when x is 0. Okay, so I just need to get my pen active there. For some reason, this guy is not copied. There we go. Right, so it tells me that my x for the graph of f of x, right? So at 45, so this would be 15, that's 30, that's 45 over there. My graph is equal to 1. Okay, actually my graph is a half, not 1. So at 45, my graph is a half. Okay, so half would be somewhere there. And I know that at 90, right, you can see that it says complex infinity. So what does that mean for our 10 graph? This is where our asymptote would be. Okay, right, it's better for its neatness for you to just consider just using a ruler. Okay, so I'm just going to draw it like that. Okay, and then let's look at, all right, that's going to be minus half at 135. So that's 90, that's going to be 105, 120, there's 135. My graph is negative 90. Okay, and I can see that at 180 we've got a 0. So again, All right, I just did something there. Let's just undo that. Okay, right, so just to continue, so we said there is our graph, and this is what it looks like. Okay, and we know we've got a half again at 225. So there we've got 180, and we've got 225 over there. Right. So 225, our graph is equal to a half again. All right, and we know at 270, we've got that to be infinity again. Right, so we know 270 would be our other asymptote. And please, guys, take this as slowly as you need to. Okay. All right, so there's our 10 graph. And then finally, you've got at 315, negative a half, and 0 at 360. So I've got 360. And here 315 on another negative a half. Okay, and there we go. Right, so this is what our graph would look like. Okay, so we know that this is a half over there, and this is negative 1 over 2 over there. Right, so we've already drawn the graph of f of x, and remember that f of x was 1 over 2 multiplied by the 10 of x. Now, g of x, I'm going to use a different color for this. That's going to be cos of x plus 1. Right, so I want you to note we've got a cos graph. Okay, it's telling me that right at the beginning, we've got 2. Okay, so there's our cos graph over there. It's a shifted cos graph. And at 45, we've got that strange value, but I'm just going to focus on 90. So at 90, it is equal to 1. Okay, and at 180, my graph is 0. There's 180 over there. And then at 270, it's equal to 1 again. At 360, it is equal to 2. So it is 1 again at 270, and it is 2 at 360. Okay, right, so ladies and gents, what I'll do is just connect those points, and this is what our graph would look like. Okay, right, so we've got the graph of g of x in red, and we've got the graph of f of x in blue. Right, so that's the graph of f of x. Right, so this is what you should most likely have for your graph. Okay, now let's answer the questions that they ask us. We'll come back, we'll keep toggling between the graphs. Now they say to us, write down the equation, or rather the equations of the asymptotes of f in the given interval. Right, so in this case, which asymptotes did we have for the graph of f? We've got x is equal to 90 degrees, or we've got x is equal to 270 degrees. That's where our asymptotes were, right? Okay, right, and for the next one, we've got, they said to us, write down the range of g. Now, what is the range? This is the minimum and the maximum value, right? So, see, the minimum most value for the graph of g, right? The minimum value is 0, and the maximum value is 2, right? So, which means when we're looking at the range of this graph, we're going to say, well, y is an element of 0 to 2. Alternatively, another way to express this, you can say y is greater than 0, or greater or equal to, because in this case it does touch those points, right? or less than or equal to 2. Right, so that is what you're going to get for your graph. Okay, let's go for the next question. They say to us, for which values of x is f of x equal to g of x? Is there any intersection between these two graphs? So when I look at them, right, they seem to intersect. They seem to intersect over there at, so that would be 75, right? And they also intersect at 180, okay, which is that point over there. Those are the two intersections, right? Right. Now, in this case, you can, I mean, if you used 15, probably that would be as your steps. That would show you those values. So in this case, I'm going to say, well, x is equal to 75, or x is equal to, we said, what was the other point? I think it was 180, yeah. 180. Okay, I'm going to just make some space here. Right, so that's 75 and 180. Now they say to us, for which value or values of x is f of x greater than g of x for x is an element of 90 to 270. Right, now please, I want you to note, ladies and gents, we want where the blue graph is above the red graph, okay? Between 90 and 270. Okay, let's see. So between those two asymptotes, where is the blue graph above the red graph? You can see that starts from 180. The blue graph becomes above the red graph up until we get to that asymptote, which is 270, right? But remember, they said to us greater than, so which means we're going to exclude 180. Why? Because at 180, the graph is actually exactly equal to, okay? They're equal there, it's not above, right? They start being above after that point. And in this case, at 270, that's an asymptote, f of x is undefined there. Right, so what are we going to do to express that? We're simply going to say x is an element of 180 all the way till 270, and both are excluded. Another way that you could have written that is x is greater than 180 and less than 270. Right, ladies and gents, we are still going to look at trig graphs some more, all right? But for now, I am going to leave this question here. We're going to look at question 5 in our next video. For now, I'll see you guys next time. Sharp, sharp.